Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, for the best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock, and again on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock Saturday, and for the very best in Wednesday Talk Radio, 1410 KERI on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And now we're on 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Your host is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay, and behind the big board is our producer, Greg Held. Hey, Clay, that was a great show last week with Dr. Joel Kahn, the preventative cardiologist.
Yeah, we both needed him, didn't we?
You more than me.
He's a little late coming to the game, though.
Well, that's right. You've had, what, 2 heart attacks? Or
No heart attacks. 2 bypasses. 2
bypasses, and I've had a couple stents. So between the two of us, we have a hard time getting through the metal detector. But we're definitely going to have him back. Our second guest last week was, he's always a lot of fun, James Hershen from The Hollywood Reporter for Newsmax. I loved his perspective on what happened with the Oscars and what's going on in Tinseltown.
He was not excited about Mrs. Obama being there.
No, for some strange reason.
Well, I don't think too many of us were excited about Mrs. Obama being there.
Well, it's the role she took was not really her place, but that's subject for another.
Well, they
show.
both want to get into show business, so
well, they are.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not in politics; they're in show business.
That's true.
We've got another great show lined up today. In the second half, we have Fox contributor and author we've had before, Kyle Olson. But now, in the first half, we've got a gentleman on the phone who I think you'll be hearing a lot about in the next couple of months and next few years, Assemblyman Tim Donnelly. Assemblyman, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Hey, it's great to be on.
So, there's a rumor going around that you might be running for governor.
Yeah, that rumor is going around. And it's partially correct. I've opened up an exploratory committee, and a lot of people, they hear that and they go, okay, what does that really mean? Well, it means you're running a campaign, but you're sort of in a test phase to see if you're viable. It's such a large, wide undertaking that it's not something you do lightly.
Sure.
And,
sure.
But it certainly seems, and I'm sure we'll be in this phase for a number of months. So I can't say exactly, but sometime in March of 2014, we have to decide if we're literally going forward in filing papers.
Because the general is November of 2014 for the governor's race, right?
Right. The general is November, and then of course there's a primary in June, and this is going to be interesting because this is going to be our first, post Prop 14 top 2 primary for the governor, for the gubernatorial race. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the dynamics of Prop 14 work out here in a governor's race. And there's all kinds of opinions about it floating around.
So in theory, you could have 2 Republicans being the top vote getters running against each other, or 2 Democrats running against each other in the general.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice to have 2 Republicans running for governor against each other in the general election?
From my lips to God's ears.
I don't think that's going to be the case. Obviously, we've got a very strong incumbent who has stated that he has solved every problem in the state. Every problem, the solution to it is raising your taxes or taking away some of your freedom. But the newspapers has fallen in love with him. They want to crown him king of California, and I think most people out there who are paying more taxes, their paychecks shrunk at the beginning of the year due to the Obama thing. And then now they're paying more in sales tax thanks to Prop 30, and many people have lost their jobs because a lot of the people who create jobs are in the top, wage earners, top 10% that Prop 30 targeted. And they're pulling up stakes and getting out of the state.
Assemblyman, you've been around Sacramento for a long time, and I remember, funny story, but I remember about, I'm going to say around 12, 13 years ago, long before the rebirth of Jerry Brown, I was taking a tour of the Capitol with some people, and they showed us the pictures on each side of the room, one for the Republican governors, one for the Democratic governors, and then they came to ex-Governor Jerry Brown's picture, and they said, well, this one is kind of in the middle because no side wants to claim it. So at that time he wasn't very popular, but he's made an incredible renaissance on what I don't know because he really hasn't done anything.
Well, it's astounding. But see, I don't believe. Look, opinion polls are accurate to a point, and I'm not going to debate them. You can get the result you want depending on how you ask the question. So if you really want to know how people feel, the best opinion poll is free. You just talk to people, and you talk to people for whom you have no idea what their politics are. You talk to shopkeepers, you talk to taxi cab drivers, you talk to random people on the street or waiting in line at Starbucks, getting gas. And I've discovered a lot of things. Most people hate politicians with a passion.
Except their own. They like their own.
Yeah, in some cases. Sometimes they don't even know. There's the advent of the low information voter. But when I handed a card to a lady at the See's Candy when I was buying Valentine's candy for my wife, I said, I might be running for governor, and I gave her my card. She said, "Oh my God, how fast can you get in?" I stopped by a hospital, and there were two people there. One of them voted for Obama, and the other one was a hardcore Republican activist. Sitting at the desk together, neither one of them knew their politics. And they wouldn't let me upstairs to give my wife her flowers. So, I had to pull out, and say, hey, by the way, geez, is there any chance I flew down here from Sacramento to see my wife? It's our 20-year anniversary. And I had this, 24 roses. So it was funny, the conversation that sparked, because they saw that I was in politics in my Assemblyman card. And they said, oh, yeah, by the way, I might be running for governor. And both of them felt like California's going in the wrong direction because they work. And they're tired of paying and paying and paying, and they feel like they're not getting what they're paying for. And that the increase in the government's hand in their pocket, they're getting their pockets picked every year with a higher tax increase or what they might label a fee. And there's dozens of different examples. But that's how the people feel. I don't think anybody's asking them the right questions or letting them really just talk and say what's on their heart.
Exactly. We're having a conversation with Assemblyman Tim Donnelly.
Tim, Marty said I could ask a question. So my questions are, why would you want to be governor of this state, and what do you bring to the position?
Well, look, I think anybody that wants to be governor should never be allowed to be governor. I go at this with a great deal of trepidation in that I understand what a massive task it is. There's a huge part of me that says, you know what, I don't want to do this. But I feel like we need somebody, we the people, somebody who will stand in there and fight toe-to-toe with special interests in the political class that has literally hijacked this great republic. California was once the freest state in the entire nation. And now it doesn't matter what aspect you look at, what area of code. The code books, if you pile them up on a table, would go from floor to ceiling and fill a room. There's so many different rules and regulations. I've spent my entire time in the Assembly. And by the way, I need to correct you, Marty. I haven't been around Sacramento. Before I got elected, I'd only been there once. And that was the speech of the Capitol, challenging all the assemblymen and senators inside to enforce our immigration laws.
Wow.
So, the second time I got invited in on the floor and was actually able to watch the Assembly in session after I won the primary election before I won the general. So I just feel like there isn't anybody who is speaking for us. And if there were, I would gladly not take this on. I don't have a burning desire to be governor, but I'm also not going to let my state fall apart. And because, California was once the greatest state in the Union. I believe we have it in us to be the greatest state again, not just because we have incredible natural resources and great weather and phenomenal geography and infrastructure, beautiful. We're as larger than most countries, and our economy used to be larger than every country in the world except, I believe, 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're down like 8 or 9. But the problem is, doesn't matter where you go, whether education, business, anything within our state, any kind of an industry or livelihood, government is the gravest threat to your livelihood, the gravest threat to your freedom. They're coming after your right to self-defense right now, all in the name of protecting you from yourself or protecting you from some perceived threat.
Yeah, which is
they
true.
just never stop.
Yep. Assemblyman, when we come back from the break, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your competition and also the sequester vote we had the other day. I'd like to talk to you about that. So we'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.